you have a bunch of customers on your WordPress site and it stays fast, even with a lot of people viewing the site, it stays the same speed as when there's not a lot. And if you're on our lowest plan or our highest plan, you have the same performance. Even the lowest plan is really fast. You have the same performance, unlike other hosts where they put you on. In the WordPress world, there's kind of a race to the bottom in hosting where they're using, many of the well-known hosts are using 10-year-old servers for you and just doing tons of caching.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King, and today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Michael from Rapyd Cloud, and we'll be diving into his story a little bit today, as well as what his company does, and then some engaging insights into the technology industry. So I'm looking particularly forward to this one, so make sure you stick around as well. But without further ado, Michael, welcome.
Thanks, Trey. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on here.
Lovely to have you here as well. Michael, if you don't mind, if we can kick things off, you can just introduce yourself and tell us a quick snippet of your story.
Sure. So I'm an entrepreneur. I run with my co-founder, Rapyd Cloud. We are a high-performance web hosting company, which we'll get into. And personally, I manage the product team, and I'm a builder. I'm a product person. So growing up, I was the kid playing with Legos and drawing, studied fine arts and architecture. And so I'm really focused on the product itself, the user experience, and that's where my mind is focused most of the time. And this is my third company. My first company was acquired in 2014. And then the second company, who I have been running for over a decade with my business partner, was just acquired in June of this year. That's part of the story of how we got to Rapyd, and we can get into that.
Excellent. Tell me, so how did you get into this business sector, right? What was it that initially sparked your interest? You mentioned now you've got a couple of other businesses as well. What is it about this one that you're so passionate about?
Sure. So, what got us into this business is solving a problem that our own customers were facing in the previous company, which is a great way to start a company.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's excellent.
Yeah. So we focus on WordPress in particular, which, for those who don't know, is a platform for building a website, sort of any type of website. And it's extremely popular. WordPress powers 43% of all websites, over 800 million sites. So it's a really big ecosystem. Entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, probably a lot of them are building their own sites on WordPress. And so Rapyd is the highest performance hosting in the world for WordPress. We've benchmarked against every other major managed host, and we're faster than all of them. In particular, we're faster at scale. So if you just have one person visiting the site, all the hosts are probably going to be fast. But when you have a lot of customers, especially if they're all seeing different content, viewing the site at the same time, other hosts will start to stall, and Rapyd will maintain its speed, the same speed with one customer, 1,000. It'll just stay. It'll always be fast, and we'll get into that. But the reason we came up with a solution for that is, surprisingly, the other managed hosts are not trying to do that. Most of what they're doing is, most WordPress sites are very simple sites, like a blog, where everybody who views the site is seeing the same content. So you can just do what's called caching. You've probably heard of that. You basically just make a prefabricated copy of the website and give that to everybody. So you can have, whether it's one customer or 1,000 viewing your website, if it's like a blog where everyone's seeing the same thing, it's pretty easy to host. And so all the other hosts focus on really just aggressive page caching to get performance. Our previous company, Buddy Boss, allows you to build a community on WordPress. So the features, a really cool product. Yeah, like the features that you would see on Facebook. You can create a profile. You can send messages to each other, newsfeed, notifications, like all the stuff you see in Facebook, but for your own brand. Okay. So maybe, like a lot of universities would use it, or people would have a member portal for whatever they're doing, where they want their members to interact with each other. And so that turns out to be incredibly difficult to host. Okay. So imagine you and I both log into a community website like Facebook.
Right.
We have different profiles. We have different messages, different news feeds, different notifications. So it can't just be cached. So, and let's say instead of just the two of us, you have 1,000 people logging into Facebook at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, the server basically has to generate 1,000 websites simultaneously that are updating in real time. So it's like exponentially harder than hosting a regular, like a blog, much harder.
Yeah.
So no one else really focuses on that. So our customers would just bounce around between hosts, and the number one complaint was that the performance was not fast enough. So we came in and built Rapyd. We built, and it's called Rapyd.cloud for a reason. It's rapid because it's really fast, and it's cloud because we are a cloud host, virtualized hosting. And so we're the perfect host for a BuddyBoss customer, but also for any type of scenario on WordPress where you have a lot of people coming to the site at the same time who are viewing different content. E-commerce, right? Everyone check, and a third of all online commerce is on WordPress. WooCommerce, the plugin has 7 million installs. And so imagine people are going through your checkout and they all have different stuff in their cart and it starts to stall or crash. That would be terrible. Rapyd will maintain performance even in those scenarios.
Constantly. Wow.
Yeah.
That is excellent. The based on your expertise, obviously not just for this company, but the rest as well, what would you say are like the current market trends, Michael, that you are aware of these days? Let's talk about IT sector. What ways are the winds blowing? What have you been picking up?
Sure. Well, obviously there's AI. I'm sure every guest will tell you that.
That's a buzzword.
That's a buzzword. It's a buzzword and it's real. We all know that. I'm in ChatGPT daily doing stuff. We use AI to help with producing ads faster. We use AI to help with producing content. We use AI in our customer support. Now we have 24/7 live chat support. We have excellent customer support, and really, really fantastic customer reviews. And we achieve that through a combination of support agents on shifts. So we have 24/7, and we use AI. So we have an AI model that's trained on our whole knowledge base. And so when people are asking questions about just general stuff, it knows the answer and can give them the answer, which gives people faster answers for generic questions related to the product and frees up the support team to focus on harder stuff. So we're using it, and you can use AI to assist in code development, to do code review and things like that. So we're using that. And then trends within the web hosting space, I would say there's a trend toward cloud hosting, which is what we do. For those who don't know a lot about it, in the earlier days of hosting, most hosts were doing shared hosting, which means you have a lot of websites sharing one server. And that's got a lot of problems, causes problems. One is that one of those websites can end up using up most of the resources of the server, thereby degrading the performance of every other website on the server. And the other one is there's a security issue. If one site gets hacked, that malware can spread to every other site on that server. So so you can be on a shared host and you can get malware and because of someone else's vulnerability. So there's been a move away from that. And that the first move was toward dedicated servers where a customer would get their own box or a VPS, which is like a virtualized box, which is definitely going to have better performance and better security than shared. But it becomes expensive because you're paying for a certain spec of resources. And so, 90% of the time your site might not have a lot of visitors, but every so often, like let's say when this podcast, let's say it was on your website and you have a day where you promote it, you get a bunch of people coming just in that moment. And if your server is not powerful enough to handle that traffic spike, it could crash or stall. So then you need to pay for enough headroom to cover this traffic spikes, but you're paying for that even when there's not a traffic spike. So it becomes a private server can be fast, but if you have high resource needs, it can become prohibitively expensive. So the move generally has been toward cloud hosting, which what it means when they say cloud is basically just virtualized resources in the cloud, like on the internet, where your site can be not using a lot of resources and not actually consuming a lot of resources. And then when there's a traffic spike in real time, the platform can just dedicate more resources to you in real time to handle it and then take them away so that your costs get averaged. And that's the main.
Is that like in labor terms when they say, crash the internet, crash the site? I'm thinking about now, most recently, I watched the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight on Netflix, right?
Yeah, I watched that too.
Yeah. and that happened, right?
Yeah.
Is that like a good example of what you're talking about now?
That is, I mean, although I'm sure they're using cloud infrastructure for Netflix, and that's a particular use case where they have hundreds of millions of people, I think, or at least, close to 100 million people
60 million
streaming at the same time. Well, yeah, so 60 million people streaming at the same time is hard to that is hosting, actually.
Yeah.
So that is crash. I mean, yeah, when a site crashes, it either goes offline in the worst case scenario, or you have what happened during the Tyson fight for anyone who watched, where it's just sitting there buffering in the case of a video. In the case of just a regular website, it stalls. It's just sitting there loading and loading and loading. And basically what's happening is the site has a certain amount of processes it can do simultaneously.
Yeah.
So let's say it can handle 10 processes at a time. That means it's going to dedicate one process. And this is very high level what I'm saying, but let's approximating one process per visitor. So if you have 10 visitors and you can do 10 processes, the 11th visitor has to wait for a slot to open up, has to wait for one of the processes to finish before they can get in. And so it starts stalling for them. And then if it gets really overwhelmed, then the server can truly crash where just everyone can't access it because it just fails. So when you have cloud hosting, it doesn't magically solve this, but it improves the situation dramatically. And depending on the infrastructure you have, I mean, it's not necessarily unlimited what it can do, but it can keep scaling in real time and handle more. Yeah.
Having said that, if you don't mind, just for the listeners, if you could explain, you touched on a couple of points earlier. What it is exactly that Rapyd, if I now had to go tell somebody else about you guys, right? If just to explain a bit in labor terms, what is it that you guys do? And then, secondly, what is that value that, you guys bring to the end user or bring to other, B2B, other businesses, right?
Sure.
And I think just to lock it down that we understand.
Sure. We provide hosting, managed cloud hosting for WordPress sites that maintains your performance at scale. Okay. So you have a bunch of customers on your WordPress site and it stays fast, even with a lot of people viewing the site. It stays the same speed as when there's not a lot. And if you're on our lowest plan or our highest plan, you have the same performance. Even the lowest plan is really fast. You have the same performance, unlike other hosts, where they put you on. In the WordPress world, there's kind of a race to the bottom in hosting, where they're using, many of the well-known hosts are using 10-year-old servers for you and just doing tons of caching. For us, at the lowest level or the highest level, it's the same speed. The difference is that on the higher plans, we can handle more and more concurrency. So it's really designed around having a lot of people viewing the site and it stays fast the whole time. So that's from an infrastructure standpoint, what we're doing. The value proposition to the customer, we are managed cloud hosting. So managed means we're taking care of everything for you. So we have a combination of performance. That's one part of the value proposition. We have customer support. Like I said, we have 24/7 live chat. If you look us up, Rapyd Cloud on Trustpilot, we're almost, I think we're 4.8 out of 5 very happy customers. So we are providing customer support to help you with everything on the site. We have a really easy to use dashboard where you can go in and administer your site. Even someone who's not a developer or super technical can figure out how to use it. It's been designed around, even though we're providing all this performance and high-end stuff, we want a business owner to be able to go in there and manage their site. So that's where the managed part comes in. And then we also have security. So this is another one of the business trends. There's been a move toward more robust security in hosting
Yeah.
because hackers have gotten more and more sophisticated and no one wants their site to get hacked. And a lot of times
Yeah.
your site can get hacked and you don't even know. And and no one's alerting you. And it's doing nefarious things on the internet, and Google is
Mm.
deprecating you. And it can
Yeah.
also slow down your website and you may not even know. So with Rapyd, we partner with Monarchs and PatchStack to provide
Yeah.
really robust security. And these are services that with most hosts, you'd have to buy on your own in addition to the hosting. So Monarchs is doing cybersecurity at the server level. So it's monitoring your server 24/7, looking for vulnerabilities and
Yeah.
alerting you or patching them. If your site does happen to get hacked, included in the price, you don't pay extra for this, they will jump in and remove the malware. Our team is, they're in our Slack. We're working with them in the background to do that on any site. And then we also have PatchStack, which is cybersecurity focused on WordPress. So PatchStack has a database of hackers and hacks and all this stuff, and they're scanning WordPress and all your plugins to make sure they're secure. And if they
Yeah.
find that there's a vulnerability, they actually just patch it right on the website. Like if they will replace code in the plugin and just patch it, the hole,
Gotcha.
because they have a database of not every plugin, but like most of the plugins. I mean, they have a huge database of this, and they're proactively doing that. So we have that included with our plans for security. So that's part of our value proposition, and then the last part is the price. So especially if you have a site that's has resource constraints, our pricing is going to be very competitive for a lot of customers. It's cheaper
Yeah.
if they're on the higher tier plans, because our infrastructure is designed around this use case. It's more efficient. Whereas
Mm.
most of the WordPress hosts are designed around sites that don't change very frequently, where everyone's viewing the same content and they're really aggressively cached. And if you have the kind of site where content's changing all the time, it uses up a lot of their resources and they keep pushing you to bump to really high plans. Whereas ours, even our middle plans are going to be higher performance than their higher plans. So it can be cheaper too.
Excellent. Thank you for explaining that to us. It makes sense, and I can, I fully understand and grasp the value that you guys bring as well. If I can ask you real quick, you've obviously this is not your first rodeo, your first business that you're building successfully. From in your opinion, what
Mm.
type of like mindset would you say is needed to be like a successful founder of a company? What mindset we talking
Mm.
about here?
Mm. So there's a lot of ways to answer this question. So one, optimistic
Yeah.
but realistic. Optimistic but realistic. So you have big goals and you believe you can do it and you believe you will do it. But you also are realistic about the challenges that are in front of you and trying to figure out every challenge and trying to figure out every way things can go wrong and make sure that doesn't happen. And planning in, if that does go wrong, here's the backup. So that's part of it. And then, I mean, I'll answer this a couple ways. I'll talk about building the company and also talk about like personally how to manage tasks, I guess. I have a few ways. So within a company, your company is a team. So
Yeah.
as a founder, it's really important that you're building a team. You need to think of
Mhm.
it that way. And when I was younger, I didn't think that way. When I was younger, it was just hustle, 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 work. And I've learned over time that it's really important that you have a really great team and a really great leadership team. So one thing, having a business partner really helps. I have a great business partner, Tom, who we worked on the last company together and this company. We're
Yeah.
good friends. Our families are friends, and we trust each other. Um, and we both work really hard and have our own strengths that complement each other. And it really helps when things go wrong that you have, your friends and family don't know what it's like to run a company. They don't understand what it's like to have every decision comes to you, and if anything goes wrong, it falls on you. They don't understand the stress that comes from that. And when you have a business partner, when things are going wrong or you're in stressful periods, which will happen, you can call each other and talk to each other and strategize together, and it like helps so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, yeah, building a team of leaders. You want a leadership team. So if you're a product company, you're going to build things, you need someone managing the product. If you're going to have a marketing team, you need someone managing the marketing. If you're going to have accounting, you need someone managing the accounting. And that person needs to be a superstar, and they're involved in the hiring process to hire the team that's going to work under them. And this may seem obvious, but when I was younger, it wasn't. I just hired the developers, to build the product. Like I would take on everything. And I wish I'd learned faster that how important it is to hire really good leaders. And if you find really good people and you trust them, you let go a little bit and let them make decisions. And if you do that, you can actually really scale up and grow. So even if you don't have you're a young company, the money to do all that, you can at least have in your mind a kind of rough org chart, an idea of where you're trying to get to. And as over time, you can fill in those roles. That's really going to help you scale. My Buddy Boss, the company that was acquired earlier, we had 150 employees. And Rapyd, we have over 50 employees. So we're really good at hiring, and we've learned this. We have an HR team. Like that's what's really allowed us to scale. That's really important. And the other thing is looking at challenges. Like in the NFL, every coach will just say, "Hey, we're taking it one game at a time. We're just thinking about this coming Sunday." You got to be like that.
You're not thinking about the championship, but think about right now.
Yeah. Next year doesn't matter if you don't make it to next year. So you have your big goals, but as you get closer to what's tomorrow, things get more into focus. So I have on my whiteboard everything I'm trying to complete this month, everything I'm trying to complete next month. Then on my computer, I have everything that I'm doing today. I'm crossing them off, and I'm crossing that off, and we're, the thing that will maintain your sanity is just focusing on daily, weekly, monthly goals. And as long as you're completing those things, you are slowly but surely making progress.
Got it. So, that is so profound, and that's such good advice. Thank you for that. Tell me, Michael, where can the listeners, where can we all get hold of you guys?
So Rapyd, Rapyd.cloud. Rapyd.cloud. That's the website. And you can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the socials. But I would start with Rapyd.cloud and go check it out. We have on there, you'll see the links to everything. And we have a YouTube, we have a knowledge base, we got everything. I would start at Rapyd.cloud and you can explore from there.
Lovely. Michael, thanks for coming on. I can see why you guys are so successful and why you're growing so strong, especially, that I've learned now today when it comes to the value that you guys bring. And for now, I'm so glad you explained in labor terms that I can understand as well. So cool. Thanks for the time. All the best for you and your business, and may it just grow from strength to strength. Thanks for coming on.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.